Lowdown Podcast, the show where we dive deep into the topics that directly impact the evolving originator. I'm your host, Connor Bartley. Bam! And joining me today is someone who's been in the game for the past 20 some odd years, a brave soul taking on the producing branch manager role, which in my opinion is the toughest gig in the business. Over 560 5-star reviews from his past clients, and a family man, married for the last 23 years and proud father of two boys, 16 and 19. Greg Godin, welcome to the Lowdown.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely, man. I'm excited to get this conversation going and to really get your story out there. As you know, we really want this podcast to be for the evolving originator, people who have figured out the basics of the job, that know how to get a couple of loans in the pipeline, but are struggling with growth and really looking for that guidance to help them get there. Talking with people like you that have been through that growth, that are producing at a high level, it's extremely helpful for that. And so I just want to get things started with something maybe easy for you, okay? When did you realize that mortgage was more than just a job for you and that it was really something that you wanted to turn into a career?
Well, actually, it's kind of a long story. I don't know how much time we've got really, but I got in the business in '99 and started off really sluggish and took a little while to get on my feet and get established. And then everything was rolling fine until, of course, the market crashed in '08, '09, and then got out of the business for a little while actually. And then I struggled. I found out probably 5 or 6 different ways how to fail. And then after being broke for so long, my wife kept telling me, we need to start making money again. We need to start paying our bills and get back to doing what you do best. Get back into mortgages. At the time, I mean, the thought of getting back into a commission only job when I could barely put food on the table was a really tough leap of faith to get back into, especially as I moved into a different area where I'm at right now. I had no contacts, nobody in the industry that I knew, and I had to start from scratch. But I did it. I put together a little bit of money to get my test and everything, and got back into it. And within 6 months, it was like a duck to water. And then I realized, you know what? No more chasing other things. I don't need to chase, all the other things I was trying to do that I thought I could do better than mortgages. I realized that's the only thing that I know it's really in my blood.
Yeah.
So I got back in 2014, and really by 2015, I was back to 6-figure salary, back from barely able to keep the lights on to be able to thrive again. So
what a story, man. I love that.
yeah.
That's, I mean, and a true like in your blood kind of testimonial, right? Like tried a few other things, like you just could never find the groove, and then you just went back to what you knew and what you were good at. The rest is history. So that's amazing. What was it? I guess, was there a turning point in your time, maybe earlier on in the beginning, or in this second chapter of your career? What was kind of a turning point for you where it just really clicked and you go, okay, I'm all in?
Yeah, exactly. When I was doing mortgages in the first round, I basically could say the first phase was like a learning, and I thought I knew everything, but then falling on my face, it really humbled me and realized that there's when I got back into it, doing it, I just realized that I spent the first phase thinking about, well, I can do this on the side, if I can try to do this other thing. I thought I could do other things to kind of compensate for more income and stuff like that, and I realized that when I came back, it's like I might be able to do other things, but people dangle carrots and say you can do this, and I'm like, no, I just stick to mortgages, and the fact that I focused on just doing mortgages.
Yeah,
it's life is a lot simpler that way. I'm a simple man. I like to just keep things simple, and don't try to get me to do anything else, because I can really focus on one thing at a time anyway. So my staff makes fun of me because I'm on the phone with somebody and they try to like word something to me to get me to do something, to pay attention. I'll just lose track of what both of them are telling me anyway. So
right, yeah, I'm guilty. I can totally connect with that. Well, but you bring up a great point, right? I mean, you read the books, you listen to the inspiration, whatever. Like, the best advice out there is really just to find the 1 or 2 things that you're really good at and find a way to make sure that that's all you ever do. And fill in the blanks with everyone else and find the who's that can solve the how problems, and just kind of get the right team around you to support the other aspects of the job. And If there's one thing that's come up pretty frequently on this podcast, it's that, just filling in the spots around you with people that love doing the things that you don't love so much, and you stick to the things that you love doing, and it just lifts everybody up. So along the way, I mean, clearly you've been successful, you've helped a lot of people. Is there a particular story, a loan story, a borrower, a family, someone, or a situation that really like pulled at the heartstrings, struck a chord with you, and has always just sort of been one that you will never forget?
Yeah, I mean, in the demographic that I work with, is a lot of first-time home buyers, and there's a lot of putting people into homes that they don't believe they can ever get there. I get that a lot, and that's really what I enjoy about the business, is having somebody come to me that they're kind of thinking that they can't do anything, and then I get them into it. But one instance was with my wife's hairdresser. So she was a single mother, small children. Their kids were in the same school as my kids, and she was struggling to get by, and the husband wasn't paying, or the ex-husband wasn't paying child support and stuff like that, and she was really having a tough time. And then she kind of came to me just asking me, like, just basically just throwing it out there, hey, do you think I'd have a chance? I was like, let me see your tax returns. I mean, let's look at your credit and everything. And then I ended up getting her down payment assistance. She got into a house with nothing out of pocket, and this was several years ago. And she bought a house for I think $130,000, and her payments $600 a month. I still see her from time to time, and every once in a while, like, she gets a little teary eyed because she was able to raise her kids in that house, and that house is now worth $280,000. And now this was a woman that would have continued paying rent her whole life, and then she would have really nothing right now. But now she's got hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of equity in her house, and she's doing great. So,
yeah, that's
things like that.
Awesome story, man. The ability to change lives through home ownership is, you can't downplay that, right? And I think it's something that a lot of people out there ignore. They go through and they continue renting, and they just don't explore if they really can buy a home. I guess in your experience dealing so much with first-time home buyers, what are some of the myths that they believe that you've helped them sort of understand, or are not keeping them from buying a home, but in fact they might actually qualify?
But yeah, the biggest thing is money. They think they need a lot of money out of pocket. I mean, just this morning I was pre-qualifying. Somebody's like, how much do I need? 20%? I'm like, no, you don't need 20%. Based on our conversation, I mean, we'll probably get you in with nothing. And he was like, he had to make me repeat it, because he was like, what? Because a lot of the, we have in this area of USDA loans, which are 100% financing. We got down payment assistance options and stuff like that. And we're going to do a lot of that. And but that's the biggest thing. People think they need a lot of money. Then, people are always worried about their credit. Now, all the time they're telling me, well, I'm working on my credit right now. I don't want you to pull my credit because I'm working on it. I'm like, well, what are you working on? What are you doing with it? And they tell me, and I'm like, okay, well, if you keep doing what you're doing, maybe in a year from now, we can probably talk, or you can let me pull your credit, let me advise you on the best way to approach it. And then, because they don't really realize that I can help them with, all aspects of the process. They think they need to come to me when they're perfect. A lot of times it's better to come to me when you're not perfect, and I can kind of get you. My motto is that I'll never tell you no. I maybe tell you not now, but come to me. I won't tell you no. Let's just figure out, it may be not now, but it may be 6 months from now, maybe a year from now. But either way, I'll put you on a plan, and we'll get you into a home.
Love that. Walk away with a plan. That's great. So when you're working with, because there's the other side of it, right? You've got the clients, the buyers, and then you've got your referral partners and the people that are sending those folks to you, and that you work with, and you got to have everybody involved, right? How are you supporting those referral partners? Are you doing anything in a unique way, or kind of what's your value proposition to the referral partners that you work with in the area?
I mean, believe it or not, just my reputation of getting the loans done. Like, one of the things I hear repetitively, like a lot of the realtors that I work with are realtors that I've worked with for 7, 8, 9, 10 years, because they've stuck with me, because that they can always rely on me to, when I pre-qualify somebody, I'm doing the due diligence. I'm actually getting all the documentation. So they know when I'm giving them a pre-approval letter, it's gonna get to the closing table. And actually, I hear them tell other realtors, and I get, really, that's been the biggest way that I've been able to grow my business. I'll get a call from a realtor. Instead of me prospecting realtors, they're calling me up saying, hey, I heard that you never fail. You always get us to the closing table. I want to work with you. And so it's really just the dedication. And I think where a lot of mortgage people are spending too much time prospecting, which in the industry, I probably shouldn't be saying this, but I spend a lot more time making sure that the customers are getting a wow experience. Because believe it or not, you can keep chasing realtors, and then but if you're only chasing realtors and ignoring the clients, those clients are going to go back and complain to the realtors, and then you're constantly having to replace the realtor that you just lost with somebody new, rather than just doing a great job and keeping their customers happy. Because the realtors appreciate you taking care of their customers more than they appreciate a visit or a gimmick or a gift or something, in my
Yeah.
opinion.
I mean, in the end, if they've referred you and you do a great job, they look good, right? And so I love that approach. And I mean, clearly over the years, you've been doing a great job. 560 plus 5-star reviews. That's phenomenal, man. Like, how have you arrived at this service? Was this a process where you kind of winnowed things down and figured out how to follow an assembly line, or what's been sort of that discovery process of that kind of experience?
Well, I mean, it's just having a servant mentality, and I just think that I'm kind of going back to what I was just saying. When I'm taking care of the customers, and my staff know as well, like they're a lot of these customers, they're new to the process, and they're scared, and there's some of them even lash out because they get scared and they yell or whatever. But it's important for us to always know that we're going through their most stressful time in their life, and we got to be nice to them, even if they're not nice to us. We always have to have a great positive outlook, and always my staff mirrors my mentality. So then when a customer is talking to me, then they're talking to my processor, talking to my assistant, that are getting the same level of respect and encouragement through the whole process. And because I want them to be happy, I want them to be comfortable, and I want them to understand the process. And I think that's one of the things I learned, that how I was not good at. For instance, I tried health insurance a long time ago in my hiatus, and then I remembered a customer that there was a husband and wife, and they were saying, "Well, we want health insurance because we're about to have a baby. We want to have maternity coverage. Does the policy cover maternity coverage?" And I'm thinking, like a mortgage person, I want to give them all the details of their plan, and I'm telling them, "Well, yeah, well, it has maternity coverage, but there's a waiting period. You can't go out and have a baby tomorrow. You have to wait, whatever it was." I knew I lost the sale right there, because another person's going to tell them, "Yeah, well, I've got maternity coverage," and then they'll write the policy. But what's made me successful doing mortgages is the more you explain to them about the process, good, bad, and ugly, the more they're engaged, and the more that they can handle bumps in the road, and the more comfortable they are in the process. And it's more of a consultative sale that most other sales you fall on your face on. I've learned that
Yeah.
the hard way.
Well, and you even made a point to kind of call that out in some of the prep here, where, you mentioned don't be afraid to tell the bad news. I mean, this may be hard to recall, but are there times where bad news has actually led to big wins for you? I mean, I imagine sometimes delivering the bad news is what helps make the deal happen, right?
Exactly. I mean, and you think in your head, you think, okay, I've got to pick up the call. I got to call this person up. I've got to tell them something bad. And you're thinking in your head, they're going to hate you. They're going to yell at you. But when you explain it to them, how it happened, especially if you set the right expectations in the beginning, if you told them this could potentially happen, this could potentially happen. And then when it does, but I always try to, if I'm giving bad news, I try to have a solution in hand. So that way they get off the phone. If I just tell them a problem and then they hang up thinking, oh my God, that's a problem. But if I tell them this is the problem, this is what we're going to do to solve it, then usually they're okay. Like, I trust you, Greg. You told me that might happen, and we're good. And most of the time, like 99% of the time, when you just knock it out, just tell them what's going on, it's better than I've seen a lot of people like dodge calls and don't pick up the call when people are calling, and then they're making things so much worse for themselves, because the people on the other line that are calling and wanting that news, whether it's good or bad, they're thinking the worst anyways. Just go out and tell them, and it's usually not as bad as what they're thinking in their head anyways. They're actually relieved when you tell
Yeah.
them.
Yeah, I mean, it's been 17 years since I personally went through the home buying experience, but I remember all of the worst case scenario imagination, things that were going through both mine and my wife's head at the time, and then, it wasn't a problem.
Right.
So I'm such a rookie move to dodge the bad news. I feel like bad news is an opportunity to build trust,
Mm-hmm.
and it can turn into some really great things for you. So, clearly you've been through ups and downs in this business. What are some of the things that really keep you motivated and keep you going? Like, what do you love about this job?
I mean, mostly is helping people. I think a lot of times, probably one or two loans a month, I'll get somebody saying, "Okay, I went with a different lender. The contract's supposed to close in 2 weeks, and they're telling me I can't. I'm not able to do it. They're declining my loan. Can you help out?" And that's for me like the puzzle of saying, okay, just putting it all on the table, getting their documentation, and saying, okay, this is where they went wrong before. This is how it should have been done, and then this is how the guideline is. Maybe they didn't know about this guideline. Just putting the pieces of the puzzle together to help people when, again, when they think that they can't do it, and I come in and rescue them. And sometimes, like, there's actual tears in their eyes, and they're just so happy that they're able to do it, and because they are in that most stressful point in their life, and then people go straight to the bottom when they think that they're not going to get the house or whatever. They go straight to, this is the worst thing. And then when you're able to pull them up out of the trenches and get them into something, but that for me is just, it makes my job fulfilling. And doing a $800,000 loan with somebody who's got 800 credit scores and 50% to put down and going to complain that you're asking for the last page of the bank statement, I really don't get any enjoyment out of the out of those.
You mean that blank page? What do you need that
Yeah,
for?
you're 100% exactly. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. So, what's next for you? I mean, I imagine you're always moving forward, kind of keeping an eye on the future. What are some of the things that you're focused on now to help you stay sharp for a year, 2, 3 years from now?
Yeah, I just think that I've been, mentoring a couple of fellows that are underneath me, and I've watched one of them in particular just grow from just the last 4 or 5 years, just like from not knowing anything in the business to him taking on the world here and watching him do really well. And I've got a couple other ones that we're working with, and just recruiting and growing the branch is really the next step. Keeping that balance of keeping my own pipeline because I'm a producing branch manager too, so I can't spend so much time recruiting and doing other things. I gotta still have to,
Yeah.
take my calls, take my clients, and do my thing. So keep
That's why
the
I said at the
whole
very
thing.
beginning, you got the toughest gig in the business, man. Just so many spinning plates, keeping people motivated to do their job, but then also going back to your own production, but then trying to bring someone new into the brand. I mean, so many things going on. It's a lot to balance, and there's a lot of demand on someone in your role. How do you stay sharp with that? Are you like, do you get coaching, or do you have a mentor that you lean on a little bit, or like what keeps you focused in that direction?
I mean, just being in the middle of the mix every day with my LOs that I'm working with, whatever pain points they're feeling, I'm feeling too, and I'm fixing things to iron everything out. And but I'm constantly in guidelines as well too. I mean, because we when you're dealing with a lot of first time home buyers and people without a whole lot of money and sometimes bruised credit and stuff like that, you're dealing with the most challenging files that can possibly be. But that keeps you on the top of your game because I'm constantly, okay, this is my situation. Nothing ever fits the box perfectly. It's always a little bit extra. So I'm always digging in guidelines, digging in, and having conversations with underwriters. The scenario desk knows me by heart, and they always know when I'm sending a scenario, and they're gonna have to put their thinking cap on for sure.
Yeah, yeah. Well, squeaky wheel gets the grease, right? So that's one thing I found to be really in common with a lot of top producers is they treat learning like working, and there's never an end to it. And that's something that you find a lot in the mortgage business is that it's always evolving too. So you got to stay up with what's new, what's the new guideline here, what's going on there, what does Freddie say, what does Fannie say,
Yeah.
all those things. So yeah, it's a lot to juggle. If just to kind of wrap things up here, if you had to sum things up into your best piece of advice for another loan officer who's looking to grow, what would it be?
I mean, I just think just kind of to the core, having a great experience for the borrowers. I've always said to my guys, if you can put 2 or 3 deals per month together, that's 2 or 3 opportunities for you to knock it out of the park. Great communication. Make that customer tell the world that they had the greatest experience, with you. And there's 2 realtors and there's a buyer and a seller on every transaction. each one of those is an opportunity for referrals. Just understand that getting the first few, and that's really how my business propelled, doing 2 to 3 to 3 to 4. And then, once I started doing 6 or 7, then it started to be like, okay, I can't offer the greatest, experience because I'm too busy, doing it. And that's the roller coaster that a lot of people have to find. But just making sure that you treat every loan that's in your pipeline as a opportunity to impress referral partners. And
yeah, I love that. Well, and is there a secret sauce to how you have gotten so many reviews just in general? I mean, are these Google reviews, Zillow? Is there a process that you have to ask for the review? I know a lot of people struggle with that, so I'm just curious if you have any insight to share on that.
well, there is a third-party company called experience.com that we register to, and then after every transaction, they send a survey to them, and then they just fill out the survey. Like, it happens right after the closing, when they're still emotional about it, still happy about it, and they're ready to
Yeah.
click that box and give me that 5 star. But yeah, there's I just recently moved to a different company, so I had gotten a lot of Google reviews as well. Because usually when they send a review, I'll send them a link to do a Google review as well, because that matters more than the experience reviews.
Right.
So I just started with this new company. So a lot of the reviews were going to the corporate office, and now I just was able to turn it on. I got my first 5 star review on Google like last week because I asked for the first one for our branch here in Ocala.
Yeah, well, that's a good call out. The Google reviews is so important in terms of just being found when people search loan officer near me. The algorithm picks up the most reviewed person first, and then it goes by geography and things like that. And so having that squared away, it's surprising how many loan officers don't have a Google business page.
Right.
And I think it's essential anyway. But well, Greg, I really appreciate you joining the Lowdown. It's been an awesome conversation. You've added a ton of value, and I know anyone who's listening will really be appreciative of what you've shared. And is there anything else to share before we go, or have we gotten it all out there?
I could talk for hours though, so I probably should just stop now while I'm ahead.
Sounds good, man. Well, high five to you. Thanks for joining, and appreciate you being on.
All right. Thank you so much. Take care.